Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome at this session, which consists of 4 short book presentations. The first speaker in the session is Professor Karin Hofmeester. She is Research Director of the International Institute of Social History in Amsterdam, and for many years, Professor of Jewish Culture at the University of Antwerp. Her work focuses on labor relations, the global diamond commodity chain, and modern Jewish history. She will present her book, Een Schitterende erfenis, on the 125 years of legacy of the General Dutch Diamond Workers Union. Her book appeared in 2019 with Walburg Pers Algemene. Karin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jan. Well, the previous speakers have made life easy for me because Donald already showed the front, the picture of the book, and already mentioned some of the content. In 2019, we had a big project on the Diamond Workers Union because it was exactly 125 years ago that the union was established. It was a very successful union. Joris already mentioned they not only took care of better work relations, but also had the idea they had to enlighten the workers. So what we tried to do in this book is to sketch the history of the industry as well as the trade union in the Netherlands. So we start with a very early history of the diamond industry in Amsterdam. Then we follow the industry and we follow the history of the trade union from the start in 1894 till the downfall of the industry and the downfall of the union after the Second World War. And we very much tried to do so from the perspective of the members. So who exactly were these members and what exactly was the impact of the industry and the trade union on the daily lives of these workers? Now, this could very much be a sales talk, but actually I don't have to keep a sales talk anymore because the book is sold out. But you can still buy an electronic version of the book for less than 15 euros at Walburg Pers. It's really nicely illustrated, so it could be worthwhile. And I would also like to take the opportunity here to show you a demo version of, do you see a website now? A demo version of the new version of the website that Donald Weber talked about. So here we are at Diamantbewerkersbond, which is the website with the data from the membership cards and the trainee card from the Dutch Diamond Workers Union, as well as the membership cards of the Belgian Union. So we combined the two data sets. So we created unique persons. And if you would now look for someone like Annelies Willems, you would really see the life story that Donald Weber was talking about. So you see when and where he was born, his gender. He had a brother in the trade. He was married in Belgium. He had 1 son. We explained something about the profession. What you see here is a map with his Amsterdam addresses in the order of, let's say, moving house. And here you see the sources on which it is all based. So the apprenticeship card of Annelies, his 2 membership cards of the Amsterdam Union, and his membership card of the Antwerp Union. And we linked up with the linked open data set of oorlogslevens.nl. So if you would follow this timeline, you could follow the war history of Annelies Willems, which is also documented with pictures from the archives. So this is just a demo version. We hope to launch this revised website somewhere in June, and I will keep you posted on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Karin. We will leave the questions for the end of the session. So we will move now directly to Veerle. Dr. Veerle van den Daelen is Deputy General Director and Director Collections and Archives at Kazerne Dossin, the Memorial Museum and Research Center on Holocaust and Human Rights in Mechelen. Her doctoral research focused on the return of Jews and reconstruction of their life in Antwerp after the Second World War, from the years 1944 to 1960. She's part of the project management board of the European Holocaust Research Infrastructure, ERI. She's affiliated with the University of Antwerp, and she's also a member of the Belgian's delegation to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IRA. She will present the book Kazerne Dossin, Holocaust and Human Rights, which appeared in Dutch in 2019 with Rubinstein Publishing House. Veerle, please.
Okay, so here I go. I'm a bit old school, so I have the book in my hands. So here's the book. And since we're in COVID and time has passed since the edition where it normally should have been presented, I also have this book now, which is the same, but then in French. So what we were able to do, and we're really proud of it, is this is the work of very many people. Herman van Goetem, Laurent Schramm, Doreen Steven, a whole team of researchers who built the first permanent exhibition to the Kazerne Dossin. And it brings all the texts and the images of this exhibition into one book. It means that you will find in this book the themes as they are outlined in the museum, for example, fear, with the thematic big image that people who have visited the museum know from the museum. So there's mass, fear, and death as three themes through which chronologically the Belgian case to the Holocaust is developed, but not only the Belgian case to the Holocaust, at each time there is the link made to other human rights violations. And so these parts are also part of the book. As well as, for those of you who know the museum, on the second floor we have very many video montages with personal stories. This one is, for me personally, one of the more moving ones, about one lady who asked the mayor of Antwerp whether she can still take her little daughter to play in the park when Jews are no longer allowed to go and play in the park. So basically what these two books do are bringing into a handy format the museum to your home. So either you can look into it after a museum visit, and I can assure you that even for somebody working at the museum, looking at it in that way brings a new dimension to the information. Or if you are unable to come and visit the museum, you can obviously purchase the book and have the museum close by in that way. So this is really a team effort, and I'm very happy that the first permanent exhibition of Kazerne Dossin has been published in such a way. So that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Veerle. We move to the third speakers. These are Dr. Herman van Rens and Annelies Willems. I will present both of them to you. Herman van Rens worked as a general practitioner for 30 years. After his retirement, he studied history at the University of Amsterdam. He completed his master's degree in 2009 with a thesis entitled Pogrom or Genocide, about mass murders in Spain during the first months of the Spanish Civil War. In 2013, he obtained his doctorate at the University of Amsterdam with a dissertation entitled Persecuted in Limburg, Jews and Sinti in Dutch Limburg during the Second World War. In 2017, he received the Rachel Borzykowski Award from the Sobibor Foundation for his contribution to the knowledge about the deportations of Dutch Jews to Sobibor. Annalise Willems is married to Herman van Rens. Until her retirement, she was a teacher in special education. She contributed to the research and publication of persecution in Limburg. They will present their book Tussenstation Kozel, which appeared in 2020 with Maaslandse Monografieën, and which deals with the deportation of Jewish men from Western Europe to forced labor camps in Silezië via Kozel Station in the years 1942 to 1945. Herman and Annelies, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Annelies van Willems. I'm very happy to be able to present here the book I wrote in collaboration with my husband, Herman van Rens, Transit Station Kozel. Second, the book is dedicated to Jules Schelvis, who has been a true inspiration to us. He was a survivor of Sobibor, and despite everything he had suffered, he was mild and not vindictive. We learned much from him. 3. We were curious whether the station of Kozel still exists. We paid a visit to Kozle, the Polish name after the war of Kozel. The passenger station was still in use. 4. Nearby the freight was the freight station. In the picture on the left, you see the place where the men were forced to kneel down with their hands in the neck. And on the right side, you see the square where the trucks arrived, taking them to the labor camps. 5. Remember this dramatic moment. People on the train knew they were facing a very difficult time. However, they still had hope. They were together with their families. They expected to go for work in the East and to survive this torment with the support of each other and with God's help. But then, in Kozel, suddenly the train stopped. They heard men screaming, "Alle Männer raus! All men out! Violence, separation from families and beloved." Men with dogs and guns were beating even children and women who wanted to kiss goodbye to their fathers and husbands. The men were forced to kneel down on the platform, and they heard the train pull away with their loved ones on it. After the war, a survivor formulated what he thought at the moment: now life ends. Says the facts first. From August 28 to December 10, 1942, 39 trains on their way to Auschwitz were halted in Kozel, 80 kilometers west of Auschwitz. Out of these trains, 9,600 men were selected for work in forced labor camps in Silezië. The camps were part of organization Schmelt, independent from Auschwitz and the SS. Most of the men succumbed in the camps. Thousands were sent to the gas chamber when they were no longer fit for work. Out of 9,600, only 875 survived. Many of the survivors gave testimony after the war. These testimonies were the primary sources for our book. 7. This research is important because of the number of victims. The 9,600 men and boys came from France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. For France and Belgium, they formed the second large group of Holocaust victims after the victims of Auschwitz. For the Netherlands, it was the third in size after Auschwitz and Sobibor. We mostly didn't know where, when, and how they died. Neither did we know where they were buried. 8. Our research had also a moral purpose. It was the intention to destroy the Jews, to erase their names, their culture, and their history. It is important to give the victims back their place in our collective memory. Important for their relatives to know their history and to have a place to remember. 9. we discovered aspects of the history of the Shoah as a whole that received too little attention. The driving force behind the Shoah was hatred, anti-Semitism, but it was also an economic crime. The Nazis wanted to destroy the Jewish people, but they also needed their labor. This created an ambivalent situation. The result was destruction and death through labor, Vernichtung durch Arbeit. In Silezië, private firms could hire Jewish slaves for 6 Deutschmark a day from Smelt. The firms were responsible for food and living. Sick people were sent to Auschwitz in so-called sick transports. This model was invented by Smelt and later adapted by the SS in the concentration camps. After we completed our research in September 2016, we arranged the unveiling of a monument at a platform where the victims started their horrible journeys. 11. Every year, we organize scientific commemorative group trips to Auschwitz and to Kozel. 12. Today, we present our second initiative, a book about the transports to Kozel and their background and history. Transit Station Kozel. This book now is in Dutch, but Yad Vashem is planning to translate. 13. This evening we will give a lecture in Dutch about the Kozel transports at 8 p.m. 14. If you would like to know more about the trips to Kozel or other things we are doing, please visit our website www.holocaustlimburg.nl. We are also more than happy to provide information about individual victims if we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Annelies. And I will send in the chat the direct link to the lecture of tonight for those of you who don't have the link yet. I will do that in a minute. But first I will present the last speaker in the session, Jan Maes. He's a historian and a religious studies scholar. He holds a master's degree in modern history and in religious sciences from the KU Leuven. He works on a PhD thesis in which he analyzes the choices of Jewish victims and their rescuers based on the criminal files of SIPO SD members in Brussels and in Antwerp. He's full-time teacher of religion. He's a guide in the Kazerne Dossin and former scientific collaborator of the Fondation de la Mémoire Contemporaine. He will present his book, De Ster en het Kruis, on the Protestant missionary work in the Jews in Brussels and Antwerp in the 1930s and 40s, which appeared in 2020 with the Fondation de la Mémoire Contemporaine. Jan, please, the floor is yours.
Oops.
Yeah, so Jan, if you want to share, you see on the bottom of your screen, share screen.
Yeah, that's what I do.
If you click on this, then you can see which screen you want to share.
Well, I want to share this one. Wait.
See short book presentation already on there.
Yeah. But do you see something?
Yes, we see short book presentation.
Okay, fine. That's okay. Okay, fine. So my book, it's called De Ster en het Kruis. It's Orthodox Calvinism. Yeah. So if you say in English the Reformed Protestants, sometimes it's a little bit difficult because you have Hervormde and Gereformeerde. In English, it's all the same, but there's quite a difference. So these are Orthodox Calvinists, and they try to convert Jews in Antwerp and Brussels. They started in 1931, and they continued even after 1948. And I wrote a book about it. I already gave a lecture about my first research on this subject in 2014 on the contact day. Well, it ran out of hand. And instead of writing an article, it became a book of nearly 600 pages. So you can order the book at the Fondation La Mémoire Contemporaine, the Stichting voor Eigen Tijdsherinnering, if you want. Okay, whoops, wait a second. Okay, the next one, okay. So my publication of my first research was that I discovered a network of 15 Protestants who tried to save 29 Jews. They saved 22 of them. It was on the second contact day in 2009. I gave a lecture about this. And someone asked, Ad van den Borden, Jan, have you found anything about the mission among the Jews? I said, oh, mission among the Jews? So I got back to the archives, and I really found extremely original archives. So I used 7 years to write this book. In the beginning, it was only the meaning for writing an article, but I had so much unique material, I decided to write a book about it. It was an extremely rich corpus. This is what Jan Nelis said, his historian, consisting of archival sources and primary periodical publications from that time, from church archives in Antwerp and Brussels, and from the archive in Utrecht, which is really unique material. Deputaatschap Kerk in Israel. Well, Reformed Protestants or Orthodox Calvinist Protestants, they have one advantage. They write everything down. They have so many reports, and that's unique material for historians. So the central question of my research was, did the Protestant mission influence directly or indirectly Protestants' attitudes towards Jews in Belgium in this specific time period? Also the period of the war and the Shoah before the war, and especially during the war. Was the Protestant mission in any way a catalyst for the various instances in which Protestants, whether they were members of the mission or not, helped Jews to escape persecution? I ordered the book according to the different missionaries. You have Jacob van Nets, is very well known in the Netherlands. He already started in 1917. He went to Leipzig to study at the Institutum Judaicum Delicianum to become a missionary among the Jews. And he started in Antwerp, but yet it was not very successful. It was very, very dogmatic. And so they changed. You got a third missionary among the Jews. And so Roelof Bakker became the missionary for Belgium. And he was younger, and he was not so dogmatic. He had some success, but not too much. And then you had, in 1938, something really changes. Abraham Charnolewski, who studied at the Rabbiner Seminary, was a Jew, completed his studies, converted to baptism, which is very near to Orthodox Calvinist Protestantism, and he fled to Belgium. And he knew Bakker from Vienna, and so he knew him. They met each other, and Bakker sees, oh, I have here a golden boy who knows everything. He knows Talmud, he knows Yiddish, he knows Hebrew, he knows everything. And really, it works. So it's skyrocketing. So a lot of Jews consider him as a real threat, and they threaten him to kill him. They beat him up in the Jewish quarter. But unfortunately, he gets sick. He gets TB. And in the end, he will be deported to Auschwitz. Then I have the specific period after his death and after his deportation. The mission among the Jews completely falls to pieces. There's nothing left anymore. No one takes any initiative anymore. But after the war, Bakker comes back and he wants to restart the mission among the Jews as nothing happened. And this is very strange because you have the Shoah. And he really starts again doing exactly the same as he did before. Then you have the period 54, 56, 45, 46, and then he gets a little bit help of Reverend Jock until 1948. I decided to finish my study in 1948 because then you have the state of Israel, and Zionism becomes more important than the mission among the Jews. And in 1948 also there starts something to change inside these Orthodox Calvinists. Should we continue with this mission among the Jews? It takes until the 70s until they stop trying to convert these Jews to this Orthodox Protestantism. Here we have the content table. The book is in Dutch, of course, yeah. So I first described the whole setup of the mission among the Jews with the finances and the buildings they have, what they needed. They got money from the Netherlands, and this is very important because they got money from the Synode. they had to write reports. And these reports are really unique material because they mention Jews with their names, sometimes with their first name, family names, sometimes more information. And these were people who were interested in Jews in a period. Most of the people were not interested in Jews. But you have an agenda. They want to convert them, but they are interested in Jews. And so you have information from outsiders, which is sometimes it's very important to have new information about victims of the Shoah. So from the 200 people, Jewish people who are in this conversion program, who are mentioned in these reports, of 80 of them I could identify, and I got into other archives of the foreign police, for example, to find out what happened with these people. So we had a lot of new information. I'm closing down, yeah? So you see here, well, anti-Semitism after the Second World War is also described in this book because it's in the reports of these missionaries. This is the last page. These are the 4 missionaries. Shanilevsky is the one who didn't survive. And this is, I'm finishing with this here, what Annelies wrote. The Star and the Cross is also a welcome contribution to ongoing debate on church's attitudes vis-a-vis fascism and the Holocaust. Finally, it should be observed that the Star and the Cross is a neatly finished, solidly underbuilt study. It is, yeah. I have 1,300 footnotes. And the historical graphical methods applied here could be characterized as a highly inner approach. An essay, an approach in which the historian sets out to show reality first and foremost through the eyes of historical protagonists. The ensemble of their stories is a story of the Star and the Cross, a story of religious drive, of suffering encouraged by people unknown to the larger public, a story that was waiting to be told. So that's it.
Thank you, Jan.